Hey guys, ECRG here, back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about the difference between a big and a small CRO when it comes to which one would you rather work for. Stay tuned after the intro. ECRG here, back with another episode. Today we're going to be talking big CRO versus small CRO, and what you guys need to know about working for either one. So I have worked predominantly with big CROs, but I have interviewed with, so I've heard the pitches of smaller CROs, and I also know people in the industry that do work for smaller CROs. So I kind of understand and get the gist, as well. I've done countless Glassdoor reviews on the big CROs, and also I've looked them up personally for under small CROs as well. So I feel like I've got a good gist on the differences here from all of the things that I just explained. So we're going to look at a few of the categories. We're going to look at pay. We're going to look at the experience you would get at either. We're going to look at the benefits and perks. Who has the better benefits and perks? Who has the better bureaucracy to manage through? And who has better career progression? And those last two kind of go hand in hand, but hey, we're gonna get through it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. But before we do, if you want to work at a big or a small CRO, there's a couple things that you have got to keep in mind and to even get your foot in the door at these places. First thing is, you better have a great resume. And lucky for you, we review resumes. So if you're interested in getting your resume reviewed, email us eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com. This will be one of the best decisions you've ever made. We're going to unlock the potential, the hidden potential that you didn't even know you had in your resume. And we're going to make it more readable and stand out more to hiring managers and recruiters. But the second thing you want to keep in mind too is, let's say your resume is great and you've gotten all the way to the interview, but you suck at interviewing. Well, we've got something for that also too. We can interview you, we can interview prep you for the interview. So if you're interviewing for a study coordinator position, clinical trial assistant, project manager, CRA, you name it, we're going to pepper you with questions for the first half of it, and then we're going to do a breakdown at the second half of it. So if you're interested in that, also email us eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com. So now the first thing that can differentiate a big CRO and a small CRO is the pay. Who tends to pay better, the big CRO or the small CRO? Well, the big CRO has gotten big because they've made a lot of money and been able to reinvest that money back into the CRO and the business. So typically the big CROs are going to be able to pay a little bit better than the small CROs. And I know from firsthand experience, I was given a job after the interview process. I was offered a position at a small CRO, and they offered me a position. This was when I was first getting started in the industry, and it was way low. It was so low I had to reject it, actually. So I know from firsthand experience that smaller CROs tend to pay less than the big CROs. And just to give you a kind of a range there, the big CRO offered me about $14,000 more. Yeah, for a similar position, $14,000 more. This is when I had no experience in the industry. So that's a big difference. So I'm not going to say just discount the small CROs based on the pay difference. Obviously, there's going to be a maybe even bigger difference as you go up the food chain there. But that's a big difference. And, obviously small CROs, they may not win on pay, but they do have some other things coming up that we'll talk about where they can win on, especially early in your career. So the pay, that goes to big CROs. They're able to pay you more typically. The next thing is experience. And this is where the small CROs really get an advantage here. So at the big CROs, you're given a position, right? Let's say you're given the position clinical trial assistant. Well, that's your position. You're typically not going to be able to, monitor. You're typically not going to be able to do that much outside of that position. You're going to be doing, minutes, attending meetings. You're going to be, maybe even closing out queries or collecting documents from sites, maybe. but you're really going to be just locked into a few tasks, and they've got other people doing the other stuff. They got other people doing data management. They've got other people, monitoring. They got CRAs out there on the road. They may even have in-house CRAs depending where you work. So they've got people doing the other jobs, and your only position is to do that one position. You're basically a cog in that system, and you've got to do your job so other people can do their jobs. But at a small CRO, they've got everyone wearing multiple hats. They don't have as many people. So even though they may have brought you in for this one position, they may need you for something else, and you've got to kind of fill in there. They're great to wear multiple hats. Let's say the same position. You're a clinical trial assistant working there, and your job description is to do those tasks, do the meeting minutes, maybe collect documents or manage TMF. But let's say, CRA's out a week and they need a backup CRA. Well, guess what? You're on the study, so you might be able to go out and actually monitor for that week. Or let's say, a CRA quits and they have a hard time filling that position. Well, they're going to want you to step up to the plate and go monitor. So that's one of the best things about working for a small CRO. Even though they lose on the pay scale, they're not as good as the big CROs on pay. On experience, they're amazing. Because like I said, you get to wear multiple hats. You might get a little project management action too. You might get a little data management action. You just never know. You're definitely going to have a lot broader experience and have a lot better experience profile. So when you're looking for that next job, you're going to have a lot more experience to draw on over other candidates who are just, kind of pigeonholed into one role. So that's where the small CRO, especially earlier in your career. Early in your career, it's important to get as much experience as possible and get as much varied experience as possible. But because a lot of people take the money, like I took the money, and I don't regret taking the money either. There are ways at a big CRO to kind of get more experience if you can. If you're one of those self-starters and able to kind of talk your way into getting experience and really be kind of gung-ho about it, there are ways to do it, but it's definitely going to be a lot easier and more thrust upon you in a smaller CRO because you really have to step up to the plate. Where in a big CRO, if you just want to do your job, you can do that too. You're not going to be required to do other people's jobs. But in a small CRO, people are going to be out. You're going to be backing up other people. There's going to be fewer people on a particular study. So, you're going to have to step up to the plate in a small CRO. So that's one of the big advantages of the small CRO is that experience you're going to be able to get. So now we're going to come to the third thing, which is benefits and perks. Which one has the advantage here? Well, it's probably of no surprise. It's probably going to be the big CRO. They're able to just offer more stuff because they're bigger. They got more people working for them. They're making more money. So they're going to be able to offer more stuff. They're going to be able to offer that weight room on the campus. They're going to be able to offer, reduced price lunches. They're going to be able to offer, all kinds of stuff they're able to offer, a health package where they, pay you however much a month to get a gym membership or whatever it is. They may even have a little bit better, healthcare plans to choose from and better 401k match and things like that. So as far as perks go, we're just going to give it to the big CRO. Small CROs, they typically don't really stand a chance unless, they're really creative. I haven't seen too many small CROs that, have perks that are just like, wow, that's awesome. But we're going to give the advantage to the big CROs. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is the bureaucracy. Who gets the edge in a bureaucracy? In a big CRO, they've got processes in place. They've got things in place that you have to navigate through that are much bigger than you. And oftentimes you're going to be, in a big CRO, just a number. So your opinion is not going to be as granted, or they're not going to take it as seriously as in a small CRO where you're an integral part of that team. So having to navigate that bureaucracy in a big CRO can be a really big headache. When it comes to different programs that you want to get into, or different things, you've got to oftentimes go multiple levels above your head. And, a lot of people don't know things. Things can often be hidden in the company or hidden on the website. So bureaucracy, we're going to give the edge to the small CRO. In the small CRO, you're going to have the opportunity to rub shoulders with some of the high executive people. And you might get that experience too in the big CRO, but The small CRO, these are people that could be working next to you. These are people that are going to be just down the hall from you. They're not going to be, on the 10th floor of your building or however tall the building is that you never see and are always traveling. These are people whose offices are literally going to be on the same floor as you or just down the hall from you. So we're going to give the edge to the small CRO there. You literally could be on the same floor with the CEO and see him every day. And that's one of the perks of the small CRO. Like we said, any of the programs that come out, not many people are going to apply for, and you're going to have the opportunity to apply for that. If they got a CRA training program, anything like that, you're going to be more privy to it in a small CRO just because they're smaller and you're going to have the inside scoop on it. So edge there for the small CRO. And then here we're going to talk about career progression. And career progression is a weird thing, and this kind of goes into bureaucracy too. Like who you know, what you know, that all goes into it. And the edge here is going to go to the small CRO again, because in a big CRO, progression is a lot of bureaucracy. There are a lot of times people standing in your way. There are a lot of times, rules that you have to follow, and sometimes you follow the rules and still don't progress in your career. So that's one of the disadvantages of a big CRO. They may have these rules and guidelines and you still may not progress. But in a small CRO, you're going to be able to get a lot more experience. You're going to be able to literally show them, because the people that are going to make sure you progress in your career are going to be there watching you and able to see your daily work. So I feel like progression, you're going to get a slight edge here in a small CRO, just because everything is smaller, more inclusive. And you're gonna be able to make a better case for yourself progressing. Not to mention, if let's say you want to be a CRA and you're in the in-house role, there's a very high likelihood that the main CRA on the study could leave, go to a different company, and they want you to step into that role for a little bit until they quote unquote hire somebody new. But if you've been doing that role well for a couple months, they may say, "Hey, do you want this role? You can just have it because you're already doing it well, and you're going to get that experience. Not necessarily even at that same company, but if you got experience doing this, then you can go elsewhere and market yourself elsewhere for that position." So that's really a lot of the benefits of the small CRO, and there are a lot of benefits. Some people like having that smaller family type environment. And that's awesome. That's what you're going to get at a smaller CRO. But typically when it comes to the money, when it comes to some of the perks and the benefits, that's where the big CROs really, really have the advantage, because they got more money coming in. They've got more projects coming in typically. And that's just how it is. So there are pros and cons to both. I think early in your career, the small CRO is probably better, even though that's probably when you most need a little bit more money, because they're not going to be paying you that much. But you're going to be able to get lots of experience and able to progress your career a little bit better, I feel like, if you work at a small CRO early. But the big CROs, they're big, so they're going to be hiring a lot of people. It could potentially be easier to get a job at a bigger CRO too. So that's something to keep in mind also. But the big CROs, probably later in life, when you've already got a lot of experience under your belt, you don't really need a lot of people training you, a lot of people over you. You don't really need as much, career leeway when it comes to those experiences. You're just ready to collect that check, get the money, and get all those perks and benefits, all those things that you've been working really hard for. So that's my take on it. I'm wondering what you guys think. If you're listening on the podcast, leave us a review. If you're listening on YouTube, comment down below what you guys think, big or small CRO. Email us eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com for any inquiries. Want to do resume review, want to do any type of interview prep, or just stop by and say hello, email us there. Also, if you're listening on Anchor, we do have the ability to donate. If I've given you any value over the past many months I've been doing this podcast and the YouTube channel, if I've given you any value, feel free to donate. I think you could donate as little as 99 cents. Would love it, would appreciate it. And this is what allows us to keep going, you guys. So thank you very much for listening. Take care, guys.